Wow, what a beautiful location for a wilderness adventure video update. Behind me, this is the Skykomish River. Beautiful river, very popular for its salmon and steelhead. I don't think the salmon are doing great right now. Between the commercial fishing and the seals, the sea lions, numbers haven't been great. Steelhead, I'm not really sure. I'm kind of bummed I didn't bring my fly rod. This hole right here, there's some slack water off of the main current with some logs and some depth. It's actually a really nice hole. Gotta be an opportunist, take advantage of this little narrow window of sunshine. Pretty cool. Saw some fishermen earlier who were gonna target the summer Chinook run as well as some steelhead. So here we are on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Any fish today, guys?
1 for 2.
1 for 2.
But it was a little one.
All right, nice. Good stuff, keep going. Guys, it's so great to be back. Last week I introduced you to the adventure trip of a lifetime in the Bob Marshall Wilderness coming up after the 4th of July. This is video number 2. Today I'm going to share with you a little bit of the location details, a couple of the specific items that I'm working on acquiring for this upcoming trip, and I'm going to introduce to you the bull trout, which is the top of the food chain when it comes to freshwater rivers in the Pacific Northwest. Before we get started, I'm really curious to know how you're doing. It's been a wild week. This past 7 to 10 days, where do you start? This is against the backdrop of a global lockdown from a nasty virus. We're kind of coming out of that slowly but surely. It feels real good to start reopening some of our venues and reintegrating some social contexts back into our lives. We're relational beings. But what are you guys doing out there right now to stay healthy, to stay well, maintain a cool, calm, and collected state of mind? I'd love to know about it. Comment below. It feels so good. There's no better therapy than getting your groove on. So you gotta keep moving, you gotta keep grooving, you gotta keep dancing. So back to the trip. Made a phone call to the Spotted Bear Ranger Station. Sounds like the Bob Marshall Wilderness and the South Fork of the Flathead River at this time is wide open. There's no problems. So I have my trail maps on order as we speak. They're coming from a company out of Missoula, Montana. Those should be in the mail very soon. I asked Laura if this section of the South Fork of the Flathead River has a higher or lower than average population of grizzly bears relative to the entire Bob Marshall Wilderness. And she told me that it's about on par. So I guess that's not a good thing or a bad thing. She stressed the importance of hanging your food properly at night in a branch, 15, 20 feet off the ground, ideally, away from the main stem of the tree, well above a bear's reach when it's up on its hindquarters. Protecting not only yourself, but your food reserves from grizzly bear is going to be essential. Some specific supplies that I know I'm gonna need for this 14-day backpacking trip into the wilderness. Right now, the top of the list of priorities is a good backpack. I'm probably gonna be carrying close to 60 pounds. That's more than I've ever carried in my life in terms of a backpacking trip. In order to bring some camera gear and some fishing gear sufficient for 14 days, along with enough food to last, and it looks like I've got about 20 miles from the trailhead to the area that I'm gonna be focusing on catching native cutthroat and bull trout. I'm gonna need a really good backpack that's gonna take some of the load off of my shoulders, distribute a lot of that load onto my hips. So if anyone has a really good recommendation for a backpack, I'm not in the market to buy something new. I'm going to be shopping Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, and Craigslist for a really good used backpack. Let's talk about food real quick. Now, in this part of the South Fork of the Flathead, the regulations permit for the retention of one cutthroat trout under 12 inches. I think the thinking behind that is to release the larger fish so that they can breed and multiply and create the next generation of cutthroat trout. I am a catch and release fly fisherman. I won't judge you or condemn you for keeping your catch. For me personally, 99% of the time, I'm releasing my fish. To me, nothing feels better than to win that challenge of bringing a fish to shore, netting my trout, getting a picture, and then getting the release and having that satisfaction that although I was the victor of that sparring match, I was able to honor my catch by giving him his life back in exchange for that fish giving me the satisfaction of catching him. But I'll be making an exception to my own rule because I'm going to need dinner. This is an adventure channel. I want to be a really good example of what it looks like to actually live off the land and be in a survival profile. Yeah, I'll be bringing in some food supplies with me. I'll also be supplementing my food heavily with 30, 40, 50% of that coming from the land in the form of foraging for wild berries and plants and eating some, mind you, extremely delicious and nutritious trout. Fish that come from a river fight harder than fish that come from a lake. And that's because they spend their whole lives literally exercising. They're battling the current constantly. When you eat a fish from the river versus eating a fish from the lake, it's noticeable, substantially better quality. So please do your best to catch and release, but if you choose to keep some fish, that's awesome. Fully support you, and I'll probably be stopping by for a trout meal every once in a while myself. The bull trout is a bucket list fish for me. The bull trout is a predatory fish. Unlike a lot of the smaller trout that are eating aquatic insects, the bull trout primarily is eating other small fish. They're known to ambush their prey. They're predatory trout. They're oftentimes eating other fish that are 6, 8, 10, 12 inches long. Some of these bull trout get up to 10, 15, 20 pounds, 30 to 40 inches. That, my friends, is a large trout. The bull trout is considered a threatened species on the Endangered Species Act. In most cases, the bull trout is illegal to fish for. I was able to attain a bull trout catch card legally from Montana Fish and Game. In exchange for allowing me to fish intentionally for bull trout, is going to ask that I catch, and before I release these mighty, massive, beautiful predatory fish, that I record the size and the location of where these fish were caught. I try to keep my fish in the water as long as possible, use barbless hooks wherever possible, and you guys, I've got the opportunity for 10 to 12 days to fish for big, beautiful, huge, monstrous, predatory bull trout in the backcountry of Montana. This is amazing. These fishing videos are going to be incredible. I'm going to bring you the highest quality footage I possibly can. Browsing one of my favorite fly fishing groups on Facebook the other day, I put out a request to the community asking for some recommendations on some big streamers for fishing bull trout. Came across a really cool guy by the name of Dominic Mckenzie. Dominic is a super awesome guy, 19-year-old dude. He tells me he's 6'7", grew up in backcountry Idaho, raised in a fly fishing family. Dominic has become an expert in fishing for large bull trout, but he happens to be an avid fly tyer as well. We got to talking. He showed me some of the flies that he's tied. He recommended these big, meaty, fleshy, black and white and colored, articulating large streamers. I ordered around 20 flies from Dominic. He's tying me up these flies as we speak. I sent him the money via PayPal. He's working on tying up his flies right now. He's gonna send them in the mail. I'll have them in the next week or two, and I will be well prepared to fish for bull trout for days and days and days. Thank you, Dominic, for being such an awesome guy. Next week's video, episode 3, is going to be all about getting fit, getting healthy, getting prepared physically and mentally for probably 60 to 80 miles in the bush in 30 days from today. Some pull-ups, some push-ups, some crunches, doing lots of stretching, taking lots of hikes, shaking it out, getting ready, getting healthy, getting fit, getting excited to put my body, my mind, my soul, my emotions, my spirit to the test. And then at the end of the day, when you put your head down to go to sleep, you take that bite of the fish that you just caught from the river, it feels so rewarding, so worth it. It's the kind of meal and the kind of night's sleep that you feel like you've earned. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Hopefully we'll be able to adventure together one day soon. Be well, take care, be blessed, have a fantastic week, and remember, folks, adventure on.